Imagine standing in front of a roaring fire. You feel its heat, its pull. The flames dance higher and higher, alive with energy. That fire is your potential. It's not outside of you. It's been burning within you since the day you were born. The tragedy is that most people walk past their own fire, shivering in the cold, never daring to step closer. This audiobook is not about grand promises or overnight transformations. It's about something far more powerful, the art of becoming better every single day. Not once a year on New Year's Day, not only when life knocks you down, but daily. Imagine if every sunrise was a chance to sharpen yourself, to rise one level higher, to live with more clarity, strength, and purpose. That's what we're about to explore. 10 steps, 10 doors, 10 perspectives that can ignite the flame of continuous growth in your life. Chapter 1. The spark that begins it all. Imagine a candle in the dark. The flame is small, almost fragile, trembling as if one breath of wind could end it. Yet in that same fragile light lies something astonishing. It can ignite 1,000 other candles without losing any of its own fire. One spark can spread into a wildfire of transformation. That spark, my friend, is you. Every single one of us is born carrying it. The capacity to grow, to expand, to step beyond who we were yesterday. But here is the tragedy. Most people never strike the match. They walk through life in shadows, waiting for some grand event, some external miracle to awaken them. They say to themselves, someday when the timing is right, I'll begin. But someday is a thief. Someday never comes. And so they drift, year after year, dream after dream. Their spark, once alive with possibility, fades into a faint ember. But not you. Not today. Because today, we begin the journey of becoming better every single day. The sacred weight of today. Think about this. Today is the only day you will ever truly own. Yesterday has dissolved into memory. Tomorrow is still unborn. But today, this heartbeat, this breath, this is your canvas, and every decision you make paints a stroke across it. Some strokes are bold, courageous, and full of color. Others are pale, hesitant, forgotten, almost as soon as they are made. But each one matters, because when all the strokes combine, they form the masterpiece of your life. The truth is, most people underestimate the sacred weight of today. They think greatness is built in months, in years, in decades. And yes, time matters. But the raw material of greatness, the building block of all achievement, exists only in single days. In this day, if you want to know where your future is headed, look not at your dreams but at the way you live today. The quiet revolution, the real revolution of life, rarely begins with fireworks. It begins quietly, in moments no one else sees. In the choice to rise when the alarm clock feels heavy. In the choice to open a book instead of scrolling endlessly. In the decision to hold your tongue when anger tempts you to lash out. We call these small, but they are not small. They are revolutions disguised as ordinary choices. Imagine a mountain stream. At first it is nothing but a trickle of water, winding through rocks. But give it time, and that stream carves valleys, shapes landscapes, and gives birth to rivers that carry life itself. That is the nature of daily decision. Tiny, humble, uncelebrated, but given consistency, they carve the destiny of a soul. The first barrier, waiting for permission. Let me tell you a story. A young artist once carried a sketchbook everywhere he went. He drew whenever inspiration touched him, on park benches, in crowded trains, in dimly lit cafes. His work was raw, imperfect, yet alive, but he showed it to no one. I'll share my art, he thought, when it's good enough. When someone important tells me I'm ready. Years passed, the sketchbooks piled higher. And one day he realized something terrifying. He had been waiting for permission that would never come. His art had lived and died in silence, not because it lacked power, but because he lacked courage. This is where so many of us falter. We wait for approval, we wait for confidence, we wait for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect self. And while we wait, life keeps moving. The spark of growth does not need permission. It needs ignition. The truth about change. Here's what no one tells you. Change is not a dramatic explosion. It is not lightning striking from the sky. Real change begins as a whisper. It begins when you say, enough, enough, drifting, enough hiding, enough wasting the gift of today. And in that moment of quiet resolve, something ancient stirs inside you. Call it spirit, call it will, call it soul. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it awakens. And once awakened, it begins to demand more of you. This is why some people never improve, because improvement demands honesty. It demands you admit where you are, without masks or excuses. And honesty can feel like fire. It burns illusions, it burns comfort, it burns the stories we tell ourselves to stay the same. But what it leaves behind is gold. A different way of seeing. Let's pause, look around you. Right now. Everything you see, this moment, this life, is temporary. The cup in your hand will one day shatter. The walls around you will crumble. Even your body, as strong as it feels, will one day return to the earth. So what endures? What lasts? Only the soul you are shaping, the character you are building, the love you give, the courage you embody. These are eternal. And they are built not in grand gestures, but in daily practice. When you see life through this lens, every sunrise becomes sacred. Every choice becomes an offering. Every day becomes a chance to chisel the stone of your being into something noble, a universal law. Across every culture, every tradition, every era, there has always been this law. What you sow, you reap. Plant bitterness, and bitterness grows. Plant laziness, and weakness grows. But plant discipline, plant kindness, plant courage, and over time, those seeds blossom into strength, into wisdom, into a life that inspires. This law does not care about excuses, about luck, about circumstance. It is as impartial as gravity, and it begins with the smallest seeds, seeds you plant today. A life rewritten. Picture this with me. 1 year from now, you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror, and staring back at you is a person transformed. Not because they won the lottery, not because life handed them miracles, but because they chose, each day, to be better by a fraction. They chose honesty when excuses were easier. They chose growth when comfort whispered seductively. They chose the sacred weight of today. That person exists. That person is you, rewritten by the choices you begin making now. Closing transition. So here we are, at the doorway of your new journey. Chapter 1 has given you the spark, the reminder that change begins quietly, today in this moment. But awareness alone is not enough. A spark must be guided, or it flickers out. And this leads us to the next step. The mirror of awareness, the ability to see yourself with raw, unfiltered clarity, and to face both your strength and your shadows without fear, because without that mirror, you can never know what must change. Chapter 2. The Mirror of Awareness. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You are walking through a forest at night. The path is faint, and the moonlight barely touches the earth. You stumble on roots, you scrape your arms against hidden branches, you feel the unease of moving blind. Then suddenly, someone places a lantern in your hands. The forest does not change. The roots are still there. The branches are still sharp, but now you see them. You move differently. You walk with purpose. That lantern is awareness. Awareness does not erase your struggles. It does not magically remove the roots or clear the path. What it gives you is clarity, the ability to see, to navigate, to choose with intention rather than stumble in darkness. And here lies a truth too many people avoid. You cannot grow. You cannot improve. You cannot rise higher than you can see. Without awareness, life is not lived. It is survived. The unseen prison. Most people live inside invisible walls. They wake up, go through the motions, repeat the same habits, think the same thoughts, and assume they are free. But freedom without awareness is an illusion. You cannot escape a prison you cannot see. Think about it. How many times have you reacted in anger, only to regret it later? How many times have you reached for the phone, the fridge, the distraction, without even realizing why? Those moments are not conscious living. They are reflexes, born from patterns you never stop to question. The hardest chains to break are the ones we do not know we are wearing. The brutal honesty of the mirror. Awareness begins the moment you dare to look honestly at yourself, without excuses, without masks, without fear. It is standing before an inner mirror and asking, what am I really doing with my days? What habits are shaping the person I'm becoming? Am I moving closer to the life I desire, or drifting further away? The mirror does not flatter. It does not soften the edges. It shows you not who you wish to be, but who you are, and that honesty can sting. But it is the sting of awakening, the kind of discomfort that saves your life. A story from the stage. I once heard about a man who stood on a stage in front of thousands of people and admitted something shocking. He said, "For 30 years I told myself I was too busy to call my parents every week. But the truth is, I wasn't busy. I was distracted. I wasn't too busy for television. I wasn't too busy for scrolling on my phone. I wasn't too busy for my excuses. I just wasn't aware of how my priorities were silently shaping me." The audience fell silent because they saw themselves in his words. Awareness cuts through the lies we tell ourselves. It exposes the gap between what we claim to value and what we actually live, and that is the beginning of freedom. Not judgment, not guilt, but truth. Shadows and light. Awareness is not only about seeing the good, it is about facing the shadows within. Every one of us carries them. The fears we bury, the insecurities we hide, the wounds we pretend are healed. The irony is that shadows grow stronger when ignored, but when you turn the lantern of awareness upon them, they lose their power. They are no longer silent masters, steering your life from the dark. This is why ancient wisdom always emphasized self-knowledge. From the temples of Greece to the teachings of the East, the message was the same. Know yourself, because if you do not, life will be decided for you by forces you never bothered to see. The daily practice of seeing. Awareness is not a one-time revelation. It is a daily practice, a constant tuning in. It can be as simple as asking yourself each morning, what energy am I bringing into today? What patterns do I keep repeating that no longer serve me? What tiny decision today could shift me closer to who I want to become? Think of it as cleaning a window. At first, the glass is clouded. You wipe it, and a little clarity appears. Day by day, as you keep wiping, the light comes through more fully. Awareness clears the glass of your perception until you finally see reality as it is, not as you wish it to be, not as fear distorts it, but as it truly is. The courage to confront. Awareness takes courage because it strips away illusion. It forces you to admit that maybe you are not as disciplined as you thought. Maybe your kindness fades when tested. Maybe your ambition is still chained by fear. But awareness is not there to shame you. It is there to free you. You cannot change what you do not confront. You cannot improve what you refuse to see. Think of a sailor lost at sea. If he refuses to admit where he is, if he denies his bearings, he cannot set a new course. But the moment he says, "Here is where I stand," he can finally chart a path forward. Your awareness is that compass. It is not about where you've been. It's about where you can go once you see clearly. Awareness and compassion. Now, here's something important. Awareness must be paired with compassion. Too many people turn awareness into self-punishment. They see their flaws and drown in guilt. That is not the purpose. Awareness is not a weapon. It is a light. Its role is not to burn you down, but to illuminate the path ahead. You do not look into the mirror to despise yourself. You look so you can grow into the person you were meant to become. This is why awareness is both fierce and tender. Fierce enough to expose the truth. Tender enough to remind you that truth is the beginning, not the end. The reward of seeing clearly. When you live with awareness, life transforms. You begin to notice the hidden patterns, the tone in your voice that hurts the ones you love, the habit that drains your energy, the thought that sparks your confidence. Suddenly, you are no longer a passenger in your own story. You are the author. Think of it like this. Before awareness, life feels like a blur, like pages being flipped too quickly to read. But with awareness, you begin to see the words. You notice the details. You understand the plot. And only then can you decide if it is the story you truly want to tell. Closing transition. Awareness is the lantern. It shows you where you stand, what you carry, and what lies before you. It is the foundation of all growth. Without it, every attempt at change collapses. With it, even the smallest step becomes purposeful. But awareness alone is not enough. Seeing the path is only the beginning. You must also walk it, and walking it requires something deeper, something that carries you through even when motivation fades. That something is consistency. So as we close this chapter, I leave you with this. Open your eyes, hold the lantern high, and prepare in the next chapter to discover the discipline of showing up day after day, drop by drop, until your life is carved into something extraordinary. Chapter 3. The discipline of consistency. Picture a drop of water falling on a stone. One drop, nothing remarkable. Another drop, again unremarkable. But after years, decades, centuries, that same stone is carved with valleys and curves as if the water were made of fire. What brute strength could not break? Consistency shapes with patience. This is the hidden truth of life. Greatness is never built in a single act. It is built in repetition, in showing up, again and again until the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The seduction of the quick fix. We live in a world addicted to speed, quick results, instant gratification. 1,000 voices telling you there's a shortcut to growth, a hack for discipline, an overnight path to success. But here's the reality. None of it lasts. The quick fix is a sparkler in the dark, bright, dazzling, exciting, and gone in seconds. Consistency is the fire that keeps burning steady and strong, even when no one is watching. Think about the people you admire most. They didn't become who they are in a day. Athletes, artists, leaders, saints. Their greatness was carved through rituals, habits, disciplines repeated until they became part of their bones. The invisible work. Consistency is not glamorous. It is not Instagram-worthy. It is rising early when your bed feels like heaven. It is choosing the salad when fries call your name. It is writing when inspiration is absent, practicing when motivation is gone, showing kindness even when no one thanks you. It's boring. It's uncelebrated. And yet, This invisible work is what sculpts you. Imagine a sculptor chiseling marble. Day after day, he strikes the stone. The casual passerby sees nothing but dust. But one morning, the shape emerges, and the same people who ignored the labor now marvel at the masterpiece. Life works the same way. Consistency hides its rewards until one day the world looks at you and says, "How did you become this?" And you smile because you know the answer. I showed up. The law of the unseen harvest. There is a sacred law in the universe. You reap what you sow, but you reap it later. Plant a seed today, and the soil looks unchanged. Water it tomorrow, still unchanged. But beneath the earth, roots are forming. Life is stirring. Give up too soon and you walk away just before the green shoot breaks through. Stay faithful, and in time the harvest is inevitable. Consistency is faith in action. It is trusting the unseen process. It is saying, I will do the work even when I cannot yet see the result, because I believe in the harvest that is coming. The enemy of consistency. The enemy of consistency is not failure. It is not hardship. It is not lack of time. The true enemy is discouragement. Discouragement whispers, "What's the point? You've been trying for weeks, months, years, and nothing is changing." But here's the secret. Every act of consistency builds compound interest. The change is not linear. It is exponential, just like heating water. At 27 degrees it is hot. At 20 degrees it boils, and steam can power a locomotive. That one final degree comes only after the steady heat of all the degrees before it. Many people quit at 27. They walk away just before the breakthrough. Consistency is the courage to hold the line until the boil arrives. A story of the bamboo. There's a story told in many cultures about bamboo. When you plant a bamboo seed, you water it, care for it, protect it, for 1 year, 2 years, 3, 4, and nothing seems to happen. It looks like failure. People laugh. They say, "Why are you wasting time on empty soil?" But in the 5th year, something extraordinary occurs. The bamboo shoots up to 90 feet tall in just weeks. Did it grow in weeks? No, it grew for 5 years, only underground, unseen, preparing its roots to sustain its height. Consistency works like bamboo. Your daily actions may look invisible to the world, even to yourself, but roots are forming, strength is building, and one day, the growth will erupt so fast it will seem miraculous. But it was never a miracle, it was consistency. The spiritual dimension of repetition. There is something deeply spiritual about repetition. Every prayer, every meditation, every breath held in silence, these are acts of consistency. They shape not the world outside, but the soul within. Repetition teaches humility. It reminds us that greatness is not in grand gestures, but in daily faithfulness. It is the discipline of saying, "I will return, I will try again. I will be faithful to the process, even when my emotions waver." Consistency is love in practice. It is devotion lived out through ordinary action. Just as you prove love not by a single declaration, but by daily care, so you prove commitment to your own growth by showing up every day. The gift of rhythm. Consistency gives your life rhythm. Think of music. A single note is nothing, but when notes are repeated in rhythm, they create melody. Life is the same. Your habits are your rhythm. Wake, work, learn, love, rest. Done with consistency, these rhythms compose the song of your life. When you neglect consistency, life becomes noise, random, chaotic, unshaped. But when you honor it, your life begins to flow like music. Others hear it, others feel it, and more importantly, you feel it. What consistency builds in you? Consistency doesn't just build skills, it builds character. It teaches patience, because growth takes time. It teaches humility, because small actions matter more than grand gesture. It teaches resilience, because you learn to continue even when you don't feel like it. And here is the greatest gift. Consistency makes you trustworthy to yourself. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you rebuild trust with the one person you cannot live without. Closing transition. Consistency is the architect of destiny. It is the water carving stone, the bamboo preparing roots, the rhythm shaping music. It is the daily decision to show up when no one claps, when no one notices, when the results are still unseen. But consistency alone is not enough. To truly grow, you must also know how to meet failure without fear, how to turn stumbles into stepping stones. Because the road of consistency will test you, and failure will appear. So as we close this chapter, carry this truth: show up faithfully, quietly, again and again. For in showing up, you build the roots of greatness. And in the next chapter, we will face the teacher that most avoid, but none can escape: the wisdom of failure. Chapter 4. The Wisdom of Failure. Imagine a glass vase falling from a table. It shatters into 1,000 glittering pieces across the floor. At first glance, it seems ruins, useless, broken, irreparable. But in the right hands, those fragments can be gathered, reshaped, even transformed into something more beautiful than before. In Japan, there is an art called kintsugi, repairing broken pottery with veins of gold. The cracks are not hidden, they are honored. They become part of the story, turning what was once broken into something priceless. This is the true nature of failure. It does not have to be the end. If you dare to see it differently, it becomes the beginning of wisdom. The fear of falling. Failure is humanity's oldest fear. From childhood, we are taught to avoid mistakes, to color inside the lines, to keep our record clean. The student fears the red mark on the exam. The worker fears disappointing the boss. The parent fears not measuring up. And yet, failure is inevitable. You cannot live fully without falling. The climber who never slips, never left the ground. The dreamer who never failed, never dared. To fear failure is to fear life itself. But here is the paradox. The very thing we fear is the very thing that grows us. Failure is not a wall, it is a door, and behind it lies the wisdom you cannot find anywhere else. The mirror failure holds. Failure holds up a mirror unlike any other. Success often blinds us with pride. Comfort lulls us to sleep. But failure wakes us up. It shows us what we missed, what we ignored, what we must change. Think of the time you stumbled in public. The rush of heat in your face, the sting of embarrassment, it sharpened your awareness instantly. That sting, uncomfortable as it is, has the power to illuminate blind spots we would otherwise never see. Failure humbles us, strips away illusions, and invites us to rebuild on a foundation of truth. Without it, growth would be shallow. With it, growth becomes profound. The stories we carry. Consider this. Every hero you admire is shaped not by victories, but by defeats. The writer whose manuscript was rejected 100 times. The scientist whose experiments failed again and again before discovery struck. The leader who stumbled, was ridiculed, and rose stronger for it. History remembers their triumphs, but those triumphs were born of failure's fire. Their wisdom was not learned in applause, but in silence, when the world had turned away and they had to decide, do I give up or do I rise? Failure is not the opposite of success. It is the soil from which success grows. A personal reflection. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man who trained tirelessly for years to run a marathon. He woke early, ran in rain, sacrificed comfort. The day of the race came, and within the first miles he stumbled, his body collapsing under the weight of exhaustion and nerves. Spectators whispered. He limped off the course, humiliated, shattered. That night he lay awake, replaying the moment over and over. For weeks he couldn't shake the shame. But one evening, he laced his shoes again, and as he began to run, something changed. The pressure of winning was gone. He ran not for recognition, but for the love of movement, for the joy of progress. When he finally crossed the finish line a year later, it wasn't triumph over a race, it was triumph over himself. Failure had stripped him of ego and gifted him with truth. That's the wisdom failure carries. It burns away illusions and leaves only what is real. The gift hidden inside, failure offers gifts disguised as pain. It teaches resilience, the ability to rise after being knocked down. It teaches humility, the understanding that we are all still learning. It teaches clarity, the difference between what we want and what we need. Think of a fire refining gold. The heat is merciless, but it removes impurities, leaving the essence more pure, more valuable. In the same way, failure refines us, burning away pride, false expectations, and shallow desires. What remains is stronger, clearer, truer. Redefining the word. What if we redefined failure? What if, instead of calling it an ending, we called it feedback? Failure is not saying you are unworthy. It is saying not this way. Try again. The great inventor Edison once said, he didn't fail, he simply found 10,000 ways that didn't work. That mindset is everything. The sting of failure softens when you understand. It is not permanent. It is not personal. It is not proof of weakness. It is simply part of the path. Spiritual depth of falling. On a deeper spiritual level, failure connects us to something profound, our shared humanity. We fail, we fall, we falter, and in those moments, we remember that we are not gods, but human beings. It humbles us into empathy. When you know the taste of failure, you understand the pain of others more deeply. You become gentler, more compassionate, more real. Failure makes us human, and humanity is the soil in which true greatness grows. The choice after failure. The most important moment is not when you fall, it is what you choose after. Some choose bitterness. They say, the world is unfair, life is against me, and they close the door. But others, those who rise, they choose differently. They ask, what is this failure teaching me? How can I use this? Every failure is a crossroad. You can surrender to despair or you can choose wisdom. And that choice determines the entire direction of your life. Closing transition. So let us honor failure, not as a curse, but as a teacher. The cracks it creates in us are not shameful. They are the places where light enters. But failure alone does not guarantee growth. The lessons must be received, and that requires a different fuel, the hunger, to ask questions, to stay curious, to keep seeking even after the stumble. Because once you learn to see failure, not as an end but as a question, the next chapter becomes inevitable, the fuel of curiosity, the restless drive to keep asking, keep exploring, keep evolving. Chapter 5. The Fire of Curiosity. Picture a child standing barefoot at the edge of a river. The water glimmers under the sun, alive with movement, mysterious and inviting. The child kneels, touches the current, and then, without hesitation, steps in, not to conquer, not to prove, but simply to know, to feel, to discover. That is curiosity. the unshakable impulse to lean closer, to ask why, to peel back the veil of mystery and glimpse the hidden threads of life. It is the spark behind every invention, the seed of every breakthrough, the whisper that says, "There is more here, look again." Without curiosity, we stop moving, we stop evolving. And the moment we stop asking questions, we begin to quietly die while still alive, the forgotten flame. As children, curiosity is our native language. We ask why endlessly. Why is the sky blue? Why do birds fly? Why do people cry when they are sad? We tug at the fabric of the world, hungry to know what lies beneath. But somewhere along the way, many of us lose this fire. We are told to stop asking so many questions, to stay in line, to accept answers as they are given. We exchange wonder for certainty. We trade discovery for comfort, yet curiosity never dies. It only hides, waiting for us to awaken it again. The alchemy of questions. Curiosity is more than idle interest. It is alchemy. It turns confusion into clarity, fear into courage, failure into wisdom. Think about it. When you fail and stop asking, the story ends in bitterness. But when you fail and ask, "What can I learn here?" the story transforms. Questions are not small things. They are keys. Each one unlocks a door to possibility. The greatest shifts in human history began with a single question: what lies beyond that ocean? What happens when we mix these elements? What if people could fly? What if freedom belonged to everyone? One question can rewrite reality. A story of a door. Let me tell you about a man named Ibrahim. He lived in a small village, surrounded by mountains. Every morning, he walked the same path to the fields, tilled the same soil, lived the same routine. But one day, as he walked, he noticed a small opening in the rock face, near the trail, something he had passed hundreds of times, but never looked at closely. That morning, curiosity whispered. He bent down, peered into the darkness, and saw a narrow passage. Most would ignore it. He did not. He returned with a lantern, crawled inside, and discovered a vast hidden cavern, glittering with crystals, streams of underground water, and strange echoes of wind. What was once invisible became extraordinary, all because he chose to lean in, to wonder, to look. Your life too is filled with doors like this. How many have you walked past? How many mysteries remain unopened, simply because you never asked? Curiosity as a compass. Curiosity is not random. It is a compass, pointing toward what matters most for your growth. When you feel that tug, when a book title catches your eye, when a conversation lingers in your mind, when a question keeps you awake at night, that is life pulling you closer to the path you need. Pay attention. Those sparks of interest are not accidents. They are guideposts. Follow them. The fear of looking foolish. But here's the problem. Many of us silence our curiosity because of fear. We fear looking ignorant. We fear asking the wrong question. We fear exposing that we do not already know. Yet ignorance is not shameful. Pretending to know when you don't, that is the tragedy. The wisest people on earth are not the ones with all the answers. They are the ones who never stopped asking. They understand that knowledge is endless, and curiosity is the bridge to cross it. So ask boldly, dare to look foolish, because every foolish question is a doorway to wisdom. Curiosity as a practice. Curiosity is not just a trait, it is a practice, one you can cultivate every single day. Start small. Notice the tree you walk past every morning. Ask, what kind of tree is this? How long has it been here? What stories would it tell if it could speak? Notice your own emotions. When anger rises, instead of reacting blindly, ask, why am I truly upset? What is this feeling teaching me? Notice the people around you. Instead of judging, ask, what pain has this person carried? What joy lights them up? What dream do they secretly hold? Curiosity transforms not only how you see the world, but how you live in it. Life shifts from ordinary to extraordinary, because everything becomes a doorway to understanding. The spiritual depth of wonder. At its deepest level, curiosity is sacred. It is the soul's way of reaching for the infinite. Why do humans look up at the stars and feel awe? Why do we search the oceans, map the galaxies, write poems about love, wrestle with questions of death and eternity? Because we are wired not just to survive, but to wonder, to seek, to chase the horizon. Curiosity is not a distraction, it is the language of the spirit. It is how the divine whispers to us, there is more, always more. From curiosity to creation. Here is the magic. Curiosity does not stop at discovery. It leads to creation. Every painting, every symphony, every invention, every philosophy began with a question. Curiosity stirs the imagination, and imagination births creation. When you allow curiosity to live fully in you, you don't just learn, you build, you shape, you leave something behind that did not exist before. Closing transition. So let your curiosity breathe again. Ask boldly. Wonder freely. Lean closer to the mysteries around you. The answers you find may not always be the ones you expect, but they will always lead you somewhere new. And yet curiosity alone is not enough. It must be paired with courage. The willingness to act on what you discover. Because questions without action remain echoes. But questions with courage, they become revolutions. In the next chapter we step into that fire, the courage to act, to risk, to embody the answers your curiosity reveals. Chapter 6. The Courage to Act. Close your eyes and imagine standing at the edge of a cliff at dawn. The sun is rising, painting the sky in fire. Behind you lies everything you've ever known, comfort, predictability, safety. Before you stretches an endless horizon of possibility, but the only way forward is to leap. Your heart races, your legs tremble, and in that breathless moment, one question pierces your chest. Will I jump, or will I turn back? That question defines lives. Dreams die not because they were impossible, but because people never found the courage to act on them. Knowledge without courage is like a seed locked in a jar. It will never grow. Curiosity may show us the door, but only courage allows us to walk through it. The weight of inaction. There is a pain heavier than failure, the pain of never trying. It is the ache of regret, the quiet erosion of the soul that whispers, what if? What if I had spoken up? What if I had started? What if I had dared? Regret is a ghost that follows us, not because we failed, but because we stood still when life asked us to move. And make no mistake, life will always ask you to move. It will whisper through opportunities, nudge you through encounters, stir you awake with desires too strong to ignore. The question is not whether the moment will come. The question is whether you will be ready to act when it does. The lie of someday. We often comfort ourselves with the lie of someday. Someday I'll take the leap. Someday I'll chase that dream. Someday I'll start the journey. But someday is a thief. It robs today of its power and leaves us stranded in tomorrow's illusion. Courage cannot be postponed. It must be lived in the now. If you wait until you feel no fear, you will wait forever. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act in spite of it. A story of fire. Let me tell you a story. There was once a village plagued by a great fire in the forest nearby. The flames grew closer with each passing hour. Most villagers panicked, packing their belongings, waiting for someone else to take charge. But one woman stepped forward. She was trembling, her voice quivering, but she said, "We cannot wait, we must act now." She rallied the people, organized buckets, dug trenches, and led them toward the flames. It wasn't her lack of fear that inspired them. It was her willingness to act while afraid, and because of her courage, the village was saved. This is the essence of courage, not perfection, not fearlessness, but motion. To step forward even when your legs are shaking, to speak even when your voice is trembling, to begin even when the outcome is uncertain. The truth about fear: fear is not your enemy, it is your compass. It shows you where the edge lies, where growth is waiting, where possibility shimmers. The presence of fear does not mean stop. It means this matters. Courage is not about eliminating fear. It's about carrying it with you like a lantern. Fear lights the path to what is meaningful. If there is no fear, chances are the action does not matter. So instead of asking, how do I get rid of fear? Ask, how can I walk with it? Small steps, big shifts. Many people imagine courage as grand gestures, quitting your job in one dramatic moment, moving across the world, risking everything in a single leap. And yes, sometimes courage looks like that. But more often, courage is smaller. It's waking up and choosing not to quit after yesterday's failure. It's asking for help when your pride wants to stay silent. It's saying no when the world demands yes. It's beginning again, quietly, stubbornly, when nobody else is watching. Courage builds like muscle. Each small act strengthens you for the larger ones. The spiritual depth of action. On a deeper level, action itself is sacred. To act is to align your spirit with the movement of life. The universe is not static. It is always expanding, creating, unfolding. Stars are born, rivers carve valleys, trees reach upward. Existence itself is motion. When you act with courage, you are not forcing life, you are joining its rhythm. You are saying yes to the eternal dance of becoming, and in that yes, something extraordinary happens. The path reveals itself only after you step. The bridge appears not before, but beneath your feet as you walk. The cost of silence. Consider this: how many ideas have died in silence because their owners never acted? How many books were never written, songs never sung, inventions never built, movements never begun? The world is not changed by thought alone. It is changed by the courage to translate thought into motion. Your action, however small, could ripple outward in ways you cannot imagine. Every great shift in history began with one person who dared to act when others hesitated. A personal challenge. Think for a moment about your own life. Where are you standing at the edge of the cliff? What dream, what decision, what truth waits for you on the other side of fear? Ask yourself, what will cost me more, taking the risk and failing, or never trying at all? Let the answer move you. With it, doors open, paths unfold, lives transform. But courage, once acted upon, must be sustained. One act of bravery is powerful, but what shapes a life is persistence. The daily commitment to keep showing up, to keep moving, and that is where we now turn. The quiet, relentless power of consistency. Chapter 7. The power of consistencies. Imagine a drop of water falling onto a stone. Once, twice, 10 times, it seems to make no difference. The stone remains unchanged, solid, unmoved. But let the drops continue day after day, year after year, and eventually the stone begins to wear away. What seemed immovable is reshaped, not by force, but by persistence. This is the secret of consistency. Not the grand gestures that flare up for a moment and vanish, but the quiet, repeated actions that over time carve valleys, build empires, and transform lives. Consistency is the bridge between intention and transformation. Without it, dreams remain daydreams. With it, the impossible becomes inevitable. The seduction of intensity. We live in a world obsessed with intensity. People chase quick results, sudden breakthroughs, dramatic transformations. We love the story of the overnight success. But intensity is a spark. It burns bright, then fades. Consistency is the flame that never dies. Consider this. Anyone can work out for one exhausting day at the gym. Anyone can study for a test by cramming all night. Anyone can burst with enthusiasm for a short season. But true change belongs not to the one who shines for a day, but to the one who shows up again and again, long after the initial fire has cooled. The oak tree does not grow in a week. The mountain is not shaped in a season. Depth comes with time, and only those willing to walk steadily will ever arrive. The rhythm of life. Look at nature, and you will see that life itself is built on rhythm, not randomness. The sun rises and sets without fail. The ocean tides return in endless motion. The moon waxes and wanes, marking time with its quiet devotion. The universe does not hurry, yet it never stops. That is the wisdom of consistency. Steady, patient, unwavering. And when you align yourself with this rhythm, you move in harmony with life itself. The story of a sculptor. Let me tell you about a sculptor. Each day he came to his studio and chipped away at a massive block of marble. To outsiders it seemed pointless. Day after day he struck the stone, but nothing appeared to change. Weeks passed, months passed. Still, the marble stood tall, unyielding. Then one morning, a faint outline emerged. A shoulder, a face, a figure hidden in the stone. People marveled, when did this happen? But the sculptor knew it had been happening all along. Each strike of the chisel, though invisible at first, had been shaping the masterpiece. Consistency was the true artist. So it is with your life. The work you repeat, the habits you sustain, the daily choices you make. These are chisels carving the person you are becoming. The silent power of small things. Consistency teaches us a humbling truth. Greatness is not in the grand moments, but in the small actions repeated faithfully. Reading one page a day, taking one mindful breath each morning, choosing kindness once more when it would be easier to close your heart. These small choices, compounded over time, create a legacy. A single act may feel insignificant, but repeated 1,000 times, it changes the trajectory of a life. Do not underestimate the silent power of small things. A river is only water, yet it shapes canyons. A step is only movement, yet thousands of steps carry you across mountains. The battle with boredom. The greatest enemy of consistency is not difficulty. It is boredom. Repetition lacks glamour. It is not exciting to show up every day, to practice scales on a piano, to write a page even when inspiration is silent, to train when no one is watching. And yet, this is where transformation lives, in the quiet repetition that no one applauds. Boredom is the guardian at the gate of mastery. Most turn back, but those who push through discover a freedom few will ever know. The freedom of true discipline, the joy of progress invisible to others, but undeniable within. The spiritual dimension. Consistency is more than habit. It is devotion. Every time you return to your craft, your practice, your growth, you are making a declaration. This matters. I matter. My becoming matters. Consistency turns ordinary acts into rituals. The runner tying her shoes in the morning is not just preparing to run. She is honoring her commitment. The writer who sits at his desk daily is not just filling pages. He is bowing to the creative force within. In this way, consistency becomes a form of prayer, a spiritual practice of aligning who you are with who you long to become. A reflection for you. Ask yourself, what are the drops of water I am placing upon the stone of my life? Are they shaping me toward the person I want to become, or are they carving me away from my purpose? Remember, you are always practicing something. Every day, through repetition, you are shaping a path. The question is, are you choosing it consciously, or letting it be chosen for you? Consistency and trust. Consistency also builds trust, not only with others, but with yourself. Each time you show up, you prove to yourself that your word matters, that you can be counted on, that you are reliable in your own eyes. And when you trust yourself, a new confidence arises. You no longer wait for motivation. You no longer depend on external applause. You move because you have learned that your steps add up, even when no one else sees them. This self-trust is the bedrock of transformation. It is not in the fireworks, but in the rhythm of the drumbeat. Each day you return, each choice you repeat, you are chiseling your destiny. But consistency, as powerful as it is, requires another element, because showing up is not enough. You must also choose how you show up. To repeat empty actions leads to stagnation. To repeat meaningful actions leads to transformation. And that is where we now journey next, into the art of intention. Chapter 8. The Art of Intention. Picture this. You are walking through a vast forest at dawn. The air is cool, heavy with dew. Mist curls between the trees, and the first rays of sunlight filter through the canopy like golden threads. Every sound is amplified. The crunch of leaves underfoot, the distant call of a bird, the whisper of wind against bark. Now imagine two paths before you. One path is wide, trodden by countless footsteps, clear and easy. The other is narrow, winding, half-hidden, uncertain. Without intention, you drift toward the wider path. It's natural, effortless, automatic. But with intention, you pause. You look deeper. You ask, which path aligns with where I want to go? That moment of pause, of choice, that is the art of intention. Why intention matters. Consistency alone can shape your life, but without intention, it is like running fast in the wrong direction. You may be disciplined, even relentless, but if your actions are not guided by a deeper purpose, you will arrive at destinations you never wanted to reach. Intention is the compass of the soul. It is the whisper that says, don't just move, move with meaning. Think of a sailor at sea. The wind may be strong, the ship sturdy, the sails full, but without a compass, without a destination in mind, the voyage drifts endlessly. The sailor becomes a prisoner of the waves, carried wherever the current decides. But with intention, the same wind becomes a force of destiny. The sails catch not just air, but direction, the invisible thread. Intention is invisible, but it weaves through everything you do. It is not merely what you do, but why you do it. A smile given with no thought may pass unnoticed. A smile given with intention, to comfort, to uplift, can change a life. The food you eat, the work you create, the conversations you hold, each can be empty motions, or each can become sacred, charged with purpose. Intention turns routine into ritual, tasks into offerings, moments into milestones. It is not the size of your action, but the spirit behind it that determines its power. A story of the two builders. There is an old tale of two builders. Both were given the same task, to build a house, brick by brick. The first builder stacked the bricks mechanically, without thought, eager only to finish and collect his wage. The second builder, however, laid each brick with care. He imagined the family who would one day live inside. He pictured children laughing in the rooms, warmth glowing from the hearth, safety within the walls. Each motion carried a silent blessing. At the end, both houses stood. To the eye they seemed the same, but the house built with intention had a presence, a spirit woven into its walls. People felt it the moment they entered. It was not just a house, it was a home. This is the power of intention. Two lives may look similar from the outside, but only one is alive with meaning, living with deliberate awareness. Most people sleepwalk through their days, repeating habits, following patterns, never asking why. They wake, they work, they rest, they repeat. Life becomes a blur. Years vanish, and only later do they realize they were living someone else's script. But when you live with intention, even the simplest act gains weight. You pause before speaking and ask, what do I want my words to plant here, healing or harm? You pause before action and ask, does this lead me toward who I am becoming, or away from it? Intention slows you down just enough to reclaim your power of choice. It transforms life from something that happens to you into something you are consciously shaping. The spiritual dimension of intention. In many traditions, intention is sacred. In prayer, it is not the words alone that carry weight, but the heart behind them. In meditation, it is not the posture that matters, but the awareness it awakens. Intention is alignment, the act of tuning your inner compass to your highest truth. When you eat with gratitude, the meal nourishes more than your body. When you work with devotion, the task becomes more than labor, it becomes service. When you love with awareness, love ceases to be an emotion and becomes a force of transformation. This is why intention is spiritual. It takes the ordinary and makes it extraordinary. A reflection for you. Pause and consider, what intentions are guiding your life right now? Are you chasing success for approval, or because you are called to serve? Are you seeking love from emptiness, or from fullness? Are you building habits just to survive, or to align with who you truly are? Be honest, because intention is not about what sounds noble, but about uncovering the truth that already drives you. When you see it clearly, you can choose it consciously, or change it entirely. Intention and energy. There is another truth. Intention carries energy. You have felt it before, stepping into a room where someone's silent anger filled the air, even though no word was spoken, or meeting someone whose quiet kindness uplifted you without effort. That is intention radiating outward. Your inner state is never hidden. The intention behind your actions leaves an imprint on the world. And when you learn to harness this, when you begin to act with deliberate, conscious purpose, your very presence becomes a gift. The art of daily intention. Living with intention does not mean crafting a grand vision every morning. It means returning again and again to the question, how do I want to show up right now? Today, when you greet the world, do you want to bring peace? Do you want to bring courage? Do you want to bring clarity? These small moments of awareness shape the character of your life. Intention does not demand perfection. It asks only for presence. Closing transition. So remember this. Intention is not about controlling outcomes, but about guiding your direction. You cannot decide the winds, but you can set your sail. You cannot predict every step of the journey, but you can walk it with purpose. When consistency and intention unite, life becomes unstoppable. But there is one more force that turns this union into destiny. The courage to let go of fear, to step beyond the known, and to embrace transformation itself. And that, my friend, is where we will go next. End of chapter 8. Would you like me to move directly into chapter 9, the courage to let go, continuing this sacred flow? Or would you prefer I first outline the arc of all upcoming chapters, so the whole audiobook journey feels like one perfectly woven narrative? Chapter 9. The courage to let go. Imagine standing on the edge of a cliff at dusk. Behind you lies a valley filled with everything familiar, your routines, your roles, your comfort zones, even the weight of your fears. Before you stretches a horizon of possibility, glowing in colors you've never seen before, and between the two is open air. To move forward, you must release your grip on what you've always held, and trust that the leap will carry you somewhere truer than where you've been. This is the essence of letting go. Not the quiet, casual release of something trivial, but the trembling, soul-deep surrender of what you thought defined you. Why letting go is so hard? We cling because clinging feels safe. The mind loves the known. Even when the known is painful, we hold on to jobs that drain us, relationships that shrink us, habits that poison us, simply because they are familiar. Fear whispers, "What if the unknown is worse?" But the truth is this: holding on to what no longer serves you is like carrying stones in your backpack while trying to climb a mountain. The higher you go, the heavier it feels, until every step is suffocated by the weight of what you refuse to release. Growth requires shedding, renewal requires surrender. The tree must let go of its leaves in autumn so it can bloom again in spring. The seed must break apart in the dark soil before new life can push through, and so must you. The illusion of control. Letting go does not mean losing control, it means recognizing that you never truly had control to begin with. Think about it, you cannot control how others feel. You cannot control the twists of fate, the timing of opportunities, or the way storms arrive in life. What you can control is your willingness to release what is weighing you down, to free space for something greater to enter. Imagine holding tightly to a rope that is dragging you across rough ground. Your hands bleed, your body scrapes, and still you hold on because you fear what will happen if you let go. Yet the moment you release it, the pain ends. Freedom was never about strength, it was about surrender. A story of release. Let me tell you a story. There was once a monk who carried a jar of water on a long journey. He drank from it, washed with it, guarded it carefully. But as the days passed, the water grew stale. It began to smell, yet still he carried it because he thought, what if I need it later? One morning, exhausted, he finally placed the jar down by a river. In that instant, his burden lifted. He bent down and drank fresh, flowing water. Cooler, sweeter, alive. The jar had kept him from realizing that abundance was all around him. He only had to let go to receive it. How many stale jars are you still carrying in your life? Old beliefs about who you must be. Expectations from others that no longer align with your truth. Self-judgments that keep you trapped. The river is here. You need only set the jar down. The fear of emptiness. One of the greatest reasons we resist letting go is the fear of emptiness. We think, if I release this relationship, I'll be alone. If I let go of this job, I'll be lost. If I stop this habit, who will I be? But emptiness is not loss, it is space. Space is possibility. It is the soil from which transformation grows. Think of a room cluttered with old furniture. Until you clear it out, there is no room for anything new. The emptiness may feel uncomfortable at first, but soon you realize it is freedom. It is choice. Letting go creates the sacred space where your future can finally arrive. Letting go of identities, perhaps the hardest thing to release is not possessions or people, but identity. We cling to who we believe we are, the achiever, the caretaker, the victim, the strong one, the successful one, the invisible one. These labels may have served us once, but when they harden into cages, we shrink inside them. You are not your roles, you are not your past, you are not the mistakes you've made, nor the praise you've received. You are something infinitely larger. The caterpillar must dissolve into formlessness before it can become a butterfly. Likewise, your growth often demands dissolving old identities so that your true self can emerge. A practice of release. Letting go is not a one-time act, it is a practice. Here is a simple one. Close your eyes, picture what you are holding on to. See it clearly, the face, the situation, the belief. Notice how it feels in your body when you grip it tightly. Now imagine opening your hand. Picture placing it into a river, watching it drift away. Breathe into the space it leaves behind. Do this again and again, as often as needed. Each release is a declaration. I am ready for what is next. The spiritual gift of letting go. In many wisdom traditions, surrender is not weakness, it is power. It is the recognition that life is larger than your control, and that when you stop clinging, you align with a deeper current. Letting go allows grace to enter. It opens the door for miracles you could never have orchestrated on your own. When you trust enough to release, life has room to surprise you, to guide you, to bring what you didn't even know you needed. What you cling to keeps you small. What you release makes you vast. Closing transition. So remember, letting go is not the end, it is the threshold. Every time you release, you are not losing, but clearing the way for something greater to emerge. And here is the beautiful paradox. The more you let go, the lighter you become, and the freer you are to rise. But rising requires more than release. It requires trust. Trust in yourself, trust in life, trust that the path ahead is worthy of your steps. And that is where we must go next. Chapter 10. Trusting the path ahead. Close your eyes for a moment and picture this. You are standing at the beginning of a long road at dawn. The air is cool, filled with the scent of fresh earth. A golden horizon glows in the distance, but the road itself is shrouded in mist. You cannot see its end, only the first few steps ahead. This is life. You never see the entire journey at once. You are given only enough light for the next step and the courage to take it. Trusting the path ahead does not mean knowing every detail of where it will lead. It means walking with faith, that every step has meaning, even when the outcome is hidden from you. The nature of trust. Trust is not passive, it is an act of bravery. It is the willingness to move forward when certainty is absent, to lean into mystery rather than retreat into fear. Many people demand guarantees before they act. They want proof before commitment, clarity before movement. But life does not work this way. The map unfolds only as you walk it. Trust is choosing to believe that even when the road curves, even when storms rise, even when progress feels invisible, you are still being guided toward your becoming. A story of the lantern. There is an old story of a traveler who set out through the mountains at night with only a small lantern. He worried that the lantern was too weak, too dim. It lit only a few feet ahead, while the mountains stretched endlessly before him. But as he walked, step by step, the light moved with him. He realized that he didn't need the whole path illuminated, only the next few steps. That is trust. It is knowing that as long as you keep walking, the light you carry will always be enough. The fear of the unknown. The unknown frightens us because we imagine it as emptiness, as danger. But in truth, the unknown is simply possibility. It is the canvas of your future, waiting for the brushstrokes of your choices. Think of the greatest moments of your life. Did you foresee them in detail? The love you discovered, the opportunities that found you, the friendships that changed you, they came not from certainty, but from stepping into the unknown. Fear says, "What if I fail?" Trust replies, "What if you fly?" Trust in yourself. To trust the path is, above all, to trust yourself. To believe that whatever comes, you will have the strength to meet it. That you are not fragile but resilient, not incomplete, but endlessly capable of growth. When you trust yourself, the world no longer feels like a threat. Challenges become teachers. Detours become discoveries. Every ending becomes a beginning in disguise. And here is the truth. You have already survived things you once thought you could not endure. You have already risen from pain, uncertainty, and loss. That resilience is your proof. You are stronger than you remember. Trust in life. Beyond trusting yourself, there is a deeper invitation to trust life itself. The universe has been spinning for billions of years. Stars have birthed galaxies, oceans have risen and receded, forests have grown and fallen, and still here you are breathing. Your existence is not an accident, it is a miracle stitched from countless threads. When you look at life this way, you begin to see that perhaps it is not all chaos. Perhaps there is an unseen order, a current moving beneath the surface. Perhaps life is not happening to you but for you, shaping you into who you are meant to become. Trust is surrendering into that current, allowing it to carry you while you continue to steer with intention. The power of surrender and action. Trust is not blind waiting. It is not folding your arms and hoping for rescue. Trust is active. It is walking even when the horizon is hidden, showing up fully for today, while believing tomorrow has its own wisdom. It is planting seeds without demanding to see the harvest immediately. It is loving without calculating guarantee. It is working toward a dream while releasing the obsession with timing. Trust is both surrender and action, like breathing in and breathing out. One without the other is incomplete. Together they create a rhythm of peace and progress. A reflection for you: ask yourself now, where in your life are you waiting for certainty before you move? Where are you clinging to control, demanding guarantees? What would it mean for you to step forward anyway? To act, to leap, to risk even without seeing the whole staircase? This is not recklessness. This is courage. The courage to trust the unfolding of your own life. The beauty of the path. Here is the paradox. The beauty of life is not in knowing exactly where it will end, but in walking it with presence, curiosity, and faith. The mystery is not your enemy. It is the very thing that makes the journey alive. Every sunrise is different, every step unique, every encounter a piece of the puzzle. If the entire path were revealed from the beginning, you would miss the wonder of discovery. The unknown is not a void to fear, but a treasure chest waiting to be opened, one step at a time. Thus, closing, a call to continue. So here we stand at the close of this chapter, And at the beginning of your next, you have learned the power of choice, the discipline of habit, the strength of presence, the gift of letting go. Now you carry the final key. Trust. Trust that the path ahead, no matter how uncertain, is worthy of your courage. Trust that your next step matters, even when you cannot see the destination. Trust that life in its mysterious wisdom is not leading you astray, but guiding you deeper into who you are meant to be. And as you walk, remember this: every day is a chance to rise, to shed, to grow, to move closer to the self you were born to embody. The road is waiting. The dawn is breaking. The mist is clearing, just enough for you to see the next step. Take it with trust.